Good day, viewers. The Tuesday topic of the week is Pierce County Sheriff Ed Troyer. Now, some of you might not have heard of Ed Troyer. Well, here he is. Now, on January 27th of 2021, Pierce County Sheriff Ed Troyer called the police department somewhere between midnight and 6 a.m. that morning because apparently he was in fear of his life. Now, Ed Troyer lives in Tacoma's North End, and I grew up in Tacoma, and I know that area pretty well. The North End of Tacoma, as it is commonly referred to, is a neighborhood in that city where most of the people who live there are affluent, wealthy, and white. And Ed Troyer lives in that neighborhood. So on January 27th, 2021, he called the police because there was in his own words, homeless-looking black man driving a homeless-looking car parked in his driveway in his rich, white, ritzy neighborhood. And he was scared that this black man, Cedric Altimer, was going to kill him. That's what he told the police. And Cedric Altimer never told Ed Troyer that he was going to kill him. That was a lie. Ed Troyer said this because Cedric Altimer was a black man in a white neighborhood, delivering newspapers as he had been doing for the past 8 months in this neighborhood. And so Ed Troyer was initially charged with making a false or misleading statement to a public servant. By May of 2022, he had been formally charged with a misdemeanor. And Cedric Altimer was interviewed by King 5 News and claimed that before this confrontation occurred, in which several police officers showed up, at least 4 or 5 of them, maybe as many as 8 police officers showed up, that Ed Troyer had been following him in his car. And after this incident occurred, Cedric Altimer claimed that he was unable to sleep and that he had had difficulty continuing to deliver newspapers in that neighborhood anymore after this happened. Now, Cedric also filed a $5 million lawsuit against the police department and Ed Troyer himself, which 2 years later is still active. It's been 2 years now since this incident occurred, but just 2 months ago, in late December of 2022, a jury of 6 people, mostly white males, acquitted Ed Troyer of all charges of wrongdoing and declared him not guilty of racial profiling, making false statements. Now, this case is so notorious that even the governor, Jay Inslee, and the Attorney General, Bob Ferguson, got involved in it soon after it happened. Now, Cedric Altimer has not received any funds from his lawsuit, as far as I know. I've looked into this before recording this episode, but the $5 million civil suit does still stand, and Ed Troyer's wife, Wendy, testified in his trial in his defense, but whether he was found not guilty or not, this is an obvious, clear-cut case of racism, racial profiling, prejudice, racial prejudice, and classism. Obviously, anybody can see that. And like I said, I'm originally from the Tacoma area myself. I spent most of my childhood and early adult years living there, so yeah. I mean, I don't know. If you've never been to Tacoma before, maybe you wouldn't know this, but there's a lower income neighborhood called the Hilltop, just a few miles away from the rich area of the North End where this incident occurred. And there's also a very clear dividing line between those two neighborhoods. Clear dividing line, even if it's something that nobody ever really talks about in public, it does exist. And so, although Troyer was acquitted, I am still hoping that Cedric Altheimer wins his lawsuit against him, because clearly this was injustice, it wasn't fair, and it never should have happened in the first place.